Yo, all right, lots to get into. Guess what? I was on the right side of the pain trade finally again. Well, not finally, because I was on Monday night. I had long that squeeze overnight during Asia, um, and I planned that out very well. But then I got married to shorts on Wednesday, even though longs were still obvious. And but yeah, I saw in the tape again strong buyer at 28,600. So I was like, I said in the last video, if you didn't see it, go watch it. I said if that level holds at Globex, I'm be long like Donkey Kong and just hold it into a possible squeeze. As long as I see that the squeeze gets validated, which I'll dive into as well as to why it was and why I held through all this. Because if you're just looking at candles and stuff, you don't with some of these moves. I was talking to people in the chat, and they were getting a little freaked out by some of these quick moves down, but then it would immediately go back up. So they're just worried they don't know what's going to happen. But from an order flow perspective, I still had quite a bit of confidence. I just trailed my stop, but it proved to be a squeeze the whole time. So I was holding for quite a while. And then just one runner, like I said, there to end off. I should just put this up to 1,000 just to prove that you can, if you execute the right trade, you can get 1,000 with one micro. But yeah, it was a solid day for me. So let's look at the tape. Again, if you didn't see the last video, go watch it. I'll just briefly touch in it today, but yeah, strong buyer at 28,600 right here. This is Thursday end of day, like last hour, 2 hours or something. You see a standoff right there, big seller matched with a big buyer at the lows, and price does not go any lower. You see several attempts for aggressive sells into 600. Nothing. Just being caught continuously. Probably limit orders getting filled around here. No initiation higher, but that's to be expected after a big move down like that. Because yeah, that buyer is likely just filling their bags to eventually move higher. Then we see Tesla earnings, we see a small pump, but then some Iran news. I think U.S. Attacked one of their tankers, and so that wasn't a good look. And when I saw that, I was a little nervous about possibly getting into longs here. But again, aggressive seller immediately bought up, and so I'm like, wow, all right, this is probably gonna just climb. I was at the gym like an idiot. I chased my initial entry, I think up here. Got stopped out down there, and then realized, I was like, I need to get home. So I got home and was watching, and luckily I got home in time. I saw this big seller right here, and again, no continuation. So sellers not showing that they're in control at all. As soon as we close above here, 726, I think, or 626, like I said, you can see it. You can see it there, 626. That was my initial entry there. Yeah, that's as soon as we started close above that seller, I was like, all right, squeeze might be on from here. And then we were actually into Globex, so that was or into Asia Open, so that was a good look. Asia being possibly the bottom of the squeeze, that's very, very possible. When you look at these overnight squeezes, that's usually how it goes. Yeah, so and they just held. I was pretty confident this whole way up. See a seller attempt there, nothing. Another aggressive selling attempt, nothing. And then you see, yeah, buys up here. So no continuation down. 690 held. That was a value area high at that point. So as soon as that held, I was like, oh, this is a good look. They could not bring it back into that value area. They're trying to create a new distribution channel. They're initiating higher, trying to balance higher. So yeah, auction market theory again, and then we see big buys supporting, price moving with the big buys. That's a good look. You see this first attempt again at decent sell and nothing. Again, lines up right there with this buy, so that's holding. So previous big buys are holding price when it comes back down. That's a good look. This is the first kind of imbalance you see. Yeah, this is why I wasn't really tripped out, by some of these moves. Is you really didn't see when you actually look into the tape. You don't see any stacked imbalances on the sell side. Really nothing. So there's one imbalance there, but it's not stacked, and price does nothing after it. So I just view that as seller just sucks. They're on the wrong side of this trade. They're the pain side. Yeah, and the it is just moving up and just dunking on them continuously. Again, the London session, these two buys right here. Again, you don't know if this is a stop or just an idiot that's too aggressive, but creates this kind of ping pong range for London Open, and just, chopped around here. I was thankful that I was not trying to enter a position around here. Again, some of these moves down, no stacked imbalances, no big sellers appearing, so I'm not worried. Price is just moving up, and then you see finally a break of this balance, bolstered by a big buy right there, and then that proves to be a form of support going into NFP, and then market open right there. So you see move up. I exited I started to see here finally some bigger sell orders come in. Again, my trade is on NQ, but I see it on ES. I had stuff mapped out on ES. So when I see these at the highs, I see these big sells. That's when I looked at exiting NQ. And yeah, like you can see down here, so I'm not just making shit up. 883. That was my 75% out of my exit right there, and yeah, it was right here. 883 was right around here. So yeah, that was pretty good exit at the time. Obviously hindsight 2020, it went a lot higher, but I'm not trying to be too greedy. I'd already made quite a bit of money, so I was pretty happy. And then yeah, you see some aggressive moves down, but again, nothing. Sellers got nothing. They just got no finish, no follow through. That's like a hockey term, but yeah. So if I wasn't active in New York. I was just watching to make sure it didn't breach any lower. I had my stop below. I think it was this low right here, no, I had it right below here. So I had it below 830s. But yeah, I would have wanted to see 840s hold right there, essentially. This guy especially, because that's the initiative buy that breaks out of this kind of chop balance range from London. So I would have wanted to see that hold, maybe a minor dip below if it was really fast. ES created the SMT here. It actually went a little bit lower, but yeah, and tech is still the more bullish indice right now. I think we're at the very end of that, but for now, that's what it is. So yeah, it made sense that it made the higher high. I could do one of these sessions live one time when I'm starting to trade New York, because you could say that this is nice hindsight. Obviously I was in the trade way earlier, so easier to just hold than to make entries around here and stuff. But yeah, this again, if I'm looking back to the tape at market open, I'm seeing sellers had basically no control. Every time they thought they gained control, key levels held for buyers. So I'd just be looking at a key level again around this 840 area. Key level didn't even get that low. You see the big sells into these lows right at open and then immediately closing above. So again, I would have just stayed long at that point. I'm not trying to fight an aggressive squeeze like that. After the kind of minor sell on Thursday, the pain trade again was up. There's a lot of people that were saying, "Oh, finally, finally this market's starting to turn around. We're getting a sell day just because of the way the day finished." But again, the key levels that held 28,600 held into the close, and 7340 held. Yeah, so the very, very key levels that held on both indices into the close. So yeah, 7340. So yeah, I was still thinking we could still squeeze, and yeah, sure enough, that's what we're doing. So getting into next week, got some interesting ideas right now. So I did mark out again standard deviation on the indice that makes, oh yeah, 5 minute, that's good. That makes the SMT, either the lower low or the higher high. So mark that out. Again, if you don't know what I'm doing here, this is how I mark out standard deviations. I'm marking it out on the indice that created the SMT. So you see these lows it breached. Those are key open lows, 6 a.m. lows, I believe, for 4 a.m. for me. But yeah, so start of a new 4 hour. So those are key, and yeah, did not get breached on NQ. So there's your SMT. So I mark it out, and I mark out on the 5 minute the most recent swing high to swing low. So that makes sense on this. That is a large range, and normally what I like to see after this kind of V shape out of it is I don't mind seeing a little bit of a bounce here, but I want to see at least this midpoint hold. Ideally I want to see this area hold just right over these highs, and then I want to see it start hitting these objectives right here, kind of just going each one and seeing what happens, seeing what the tape does. Normally when we're trading into the range, or we're not at all-time highs, you're able to map this out standard deviations and see what these levels line up with. In this case, we're longs into all-time highs. We're just purely having to look at the tape and see how it reacts to these levels, and the time of day too that these levels happens. When these levels hit, again, that was my error on Wednesday, was the level that I was looking to short from got hit overnight. And if we're going to see any type of significant top, it's going to be New York that gets it. So already that was kind of iffy. So whatever these levels, whenever they hit, I'll be looking for it to hit at a key time. That'll be confluence number 1. And then obviously the be watching the tape to see some pretty significant change in action at that point. So it is interesting. If you know, TR pocket of this range lines up with the 2 standard deviation of this move. So I will be looking for this to possibly, we're at the end, we're in the last 10 minutes. I doubt we're going to get all the way up there in 10 minutes. That would be pretty crazy. We did see again, sellers thinking that they got the top and just getting dunked on. Aggressive selling to lows, and buyer just buys it right back up. So I'll be looking for this to hit next week and seeing what the reaction is. It wouldn't surprise me on a number of fronts to see kind of a Monday initial balance, and then Tuesday we got CPI. Maybe reject from there. That would be interesting for sure. But I don't I'm not, again, I like the 4.5 as an overall reversal area. We can always reverse from any of these levels. We can always change direction from any one of them. It's again, it's easier just when you can see what they line up with, but there's nothing to the left up here. So just gotta kind of go on time of day and what happens in the tape when they hit. But yeah, 4.5, that'd really be the top of my range. If we're going back to, let's see here. So that's about 1% move. So if you've seen other videos, I mapped out this macro extension on SPX, and it really falls in this box. Initially, I had a good rejection for this area right here, 7240, 7250 area, and I was looking for it to reject cleanly from there, and then that would be it. Of course, that was too easy, and I should know better that we're looking at a generational top possibly, so the market is not going to make it that easy. Just blew those shorts away, but this is still in the zone of what I'm looking for. This is I believe just macro TR pocket that I mapped out on SPX. I've mapped one out on ES too, but ES is more difficult for macro stuff when you're going over when you're using ranges that go over the matter of months to years because of contract rollover and everything. So SPX is easier just because you're not dealing with any contract rollovers or anything. So that might be screwing up some results when I map it out on a macro time frame from futures. So I'm still looking for rejection in this area. I could easily if it's a 1% up, I think from there that would be right around there for 46.70 about. So we'd still be within this range even if we get up to that 4.5 standard deviation on ES. Don't know if we'll get all the way up to the top there. Initial balance, something like that. You don't know how it's going to happen, but I'll be looking for those levels. I'll be looking for significant reactions from them. Let me just go back a bunch here. So it lines with the TR pocket. So we'll see what happens with that level. I could see this being a rejection from for the initial balance to start the week. And then we hold a key level maybe in here, and then we go up kind of, and then back down. Don't know how it's going to happen, but I do find this interesting. So in previous market tops, cycle tops, we actually see chips, especially in this AI race, we see chips really start to burn out. So that's already happening. Chips are already starting to sell off a little bit. If you go back to July 11th, 2024, I remember this day very vividly. Number one, because I was definitely on the wrong side of this trade, but it was confusing to me. It was the first time that I really experienced being on the wrong side of what I thought was a good data day. So I thought continue longs. It had been on a large uptrend this whole way. So it was CPI, and we have CPI next Tuesday. Next Tuesday. So next week, PPI too. We have lots of inflation data coming out next week. So I think people will be looking for CPI to be basically just really hot. So I think it could go a number of ways and surprise people. I think the market might already price it in and say, we know inflation's going to tick up. And so it'll actually come in, maybe it'll be bad, but it won't be as bad as expected. And people will be like, oh my God, this is great. It's not even that bad kind of thing. Market still has a limit down day, still sells, still kind of tricks people, still goes up for the first 15 minutes or whatever, and then just limit down. Because that's what happened on July 11th, 2024. It was we had been on a significant uptrend for a while where it felt like the bid was infinite, and shorts were just getting murdered for a while. And then we had CPI that day. It was actually Thursday, and so Thursday's natural expansion day, and it was a cool print. So it showed that inflation was cooling at that point. Rates were still pretty high, so everyone's like, "Oh my God, it's great!" The Fed will likely cut. So it was, on all fronts, there was nothing bearish kind of in the markets. There was nothing, no data that suggested we should limit down, and that's what happened. So we market open after a good CPI print that showed cooling, and tons of longs entered the mix, and then it was a 2% limit down day. Literally hit a level. I don't know what level at that time. I didn't trade nearly the same as I do now 2 years ago, and hit that level and just down. Like it was basically anytime you entered short, you would have been, just wait a bit, you'll be in profit no matter what. It just was an endless short day after that. It was just a clear accumulation leading into it, manipulation higher into the print, and then sold off. So I will be watching for maybe something like that to happen on Tuesday. Don't know. Where we get an inflation print that is, again, I can't see how it would be good, but it not as bad as the market already expects it to be. And then so we initially see a spike up at market open, and then it just reverses immediately. So I'll be watching the tape like a hawk that day for sure. Or could happen later in the week, and we could see, I think later in the week on Wednesday PPI. Thursday we actually have retail sales. That's a sneaky one, sneaky. I don't know this freaking idiot's name, but he's someone in the Trump's administration that always goes on news networks and brags about the economy and how great everything is going in the midst of all this chaos. He is just completely detached from reality, and he just said the dumbest thing yesterday. I think maybe it was 2 days ago. I think it was on Fox News, because of course they didn't follow up and question him on it, but he goes, I've been talking to the major lenders and credit card companies, and they say credit card spending is at record highs. And he's like, so clearly the American consumer is strong. They are spending like never before. And it was hilarious going through the comments, because the comments are largely probably a lot of Americans being like, are you kidding me? Like, I'm spending more on my credit card because I don't have the money in my checking account to afford bills or whatever I need to buy. That is the reason that credit cards are at record spending. I just could not believe when he said that. I was like, how detached from reality is this guy? So on that day, retail sales will be very interesting, because that will show basically, how strong is the consumer actually. Retail sales, things like groceries and stuff are not going to be included in that. Like this is like, strip malls, clothing, whatever. And I don't know about you guys, but where I live in Canada. I've heard about in the States too. There's a lot of consolidation in retail right now, mainly because there's a large push for online too. But the spending is on luxury goods, on clothing and stuff. It's becoming like bifurcated, where basically it's really just only for people that make a very good income. Your average person, American, whatever, is not. They don't have the extra money to buy new suits, new clothes, and anything frivolous that isn't just like necessary bills. So I think that'll be very interesting to see what that comes in that day. If it actually prints negative, I think if we're already maybe we topped at some point, that'll just be, maybe a sneaky catalyst that no one is really thinking about. We'll see. Lots of stuff to consider, but I know we are I believe we're at the end of this road. You will not see me. You won't see me fighting a squeeze. That's for sure. You won't see me fighting buyers when they're obviously in control still. But until we get out of this range right here, until, I'm still anything in this range, even if we come outside and come back in and sell, but anything in this range right here, I'm still waiting for a turnaround to happen. I'll just be mindful and ready for it. I won't be trying to predict exactly when it's going to happen. I'll just be ready every day, and trying to map out levels so that I know where I can look for one. Until we get outside of this box, retest, and take off, at that point, again, I just don't see how this is possible. But at that point, I'll be sold and I'll be like, all right, we're in another bull run. But until then, I just don't see it. I think right now we're just endlessly torching all these shorts, especially on options. There's a lot of cowboys with millions of dollars trying to time this, what I believe is a generational top, and they're trying to, get, essentially sell the top, and they're trying to buy like big leaps, long dated put contracts. Some of them are actually pretty short, like 2 weeks, 3 weeks, and yeah, they're looking to make bank, and they're just getting squeezed every day. They're getting, they enter, and then there's a gap up. So until we see them all torched and burned, until we start to see the market switching to calling people idiots for shorting all-time highs, which is already starting to happen. But until we see the crowded trade is actually the buys and everyone is buying, which I think will happen somewhere in this region, it's already starting to flip. There's already a ton of people that I've seen on X that are like, you know what? I don't know what's going on, but I'm tired of shorting. I've already seen it. I'm very aware on X on how the psychology is shifting. And I think we're very close to a point of where you see people being like, you're shorting? Like, you're such an idiot. Like how can you do that? You're such what a lunatic. Because right now, for this last little bit, people have been like, you're longing? Like, you're an idiot. Like, how could you be long after all this? When in reality, yeah, you zoom out, being short around here, pretty good idea. If you have some room, if you're not trying to get exact entry, if you're buying puts on options, yeah, that's RR is great, honestly. So yeah, but yeah, I've just heard endlessly people being like, oh, you're in a long after all this? Like, how are you still longing? But we're slowly switching to, you're going to short? Are you kidding me? This market is so bullish. Like, how can you short all-time highs? As soon as that becomes, the crowded idea, and you see people in the comments just reaming anyone that's trying to short, I believe that is kind of marking out a top here. And it is very interesting as soon as we pass these NFP highs that the market was just all chop. It's not really showing me that there's a lot of strength going on. There's the close right there. Look, 4.4K more sells than buys. So that's pretty heavy to the sell side, but we had still a pretty bullish day overall. So it'll be interesting when I consolidate all this and I see really who had more action on the day. But yeah, look at all this chop as soon as we pass these highs. This is not telling me that we're gonna just continue going strongly. If this was really that strong and you see a move up like this, I want to see some type of continuation, create a high, reject, and then retest and stuff. This kind of chop right here, no, that just, to me, this looks like rotation. To me, that just looks like people getting out of the indices. We'll see. NQ finished at the highs. Yes, did not. So you will see, I'm sure, a lot of people that are hoping for limit down, gap down Monday. Again, possible you see that, and we might see a repeat where we gap down Monday. We hold maybe this area, 7,400. We balance, come up here, reject, or come up, come up higher. Oops, that's way too. come up higher and reject. So that would be really interesting. I'll be looking for something like that. Again, key level I want to hold, I guess I'll talk mainly about ES now, is, I would say 7,400. I'd want 7,400 to hold. That'd be a good area to hold. I'd really want 7,390 to hold, for sure. That would be kind of anything lower than 7,390, and I'd start to have doubts. Wow, look at this pump. Oh my goodness. Yeah, more earnings. There we go. Let's see what we got here. As I Russian boost AI earnings optimism. One thing I didn't mention about previous Tesla, I said in the last video, and it is true. It's so funny when I look back at that July 11th thing that I was talking about, CPI, and that was what we saw. Tesla, again, last out of the tech guys. It's like last past the finish line. Essentially, you see a raging uptrend with semis. And AI, so you see a lot of push up with that, and then Tesla for some reason consistently is last through the finish line, and then once Tesla is pumped, then that's it. Then the show's over. I don't know why it's Tesla, but that seems to be what it is. We'll see if history repeats itself. Yeah, it is very interesting. And when I was looking back at July 11th, one of the news articles that I had seen was it literally specifically mentioned how Tesla had just come off of like an 11-day win streak, and it had pumped X amount, and then then tech just started selling off like crazy. So it is funny that it is happening. Same thing. Chips just went on an insane run. They started to sell a little bit. They're showing some exhaustion. Now you have Tesla pumping, and yeah, it's just very interesting to see how it's gonna move forward. It'll be very interesting to next Friday, I think, is NVIDIA earnings, so we'll see what their guidance looks like. I can't imagine they're gonna say anything short of miraculous guidance. Going back to July 11th again, I'm not going to use it as an exact roadmap, but just to show you that it is very unlikely that we just go like limit down. What we'll probably see, the market is never going to like just give away that it just like topped. I can't see like going up and then just like boom 5%. Like that'll be way too obvious. And that'll also be a nightmare of rebalancing afterwards and then to finally make a move lower. So I actually hope I don't see anything like that. What would make more sense is if we, reject there, or like I said, reject even higher. Anywhere within this range, anywhere within this range, I will be looking for a rejection. I know it's a big range. Just again, New York session, kill zone, like 10 a.m., something like that, or even market open, but probably 10 a.m. because on market open, you're gonna want to see a manipulation and then a move down. But anyways, I'm gonna want to see basically a move up, reject, and then probably like some type of little balance during the week. That's what happened before, and then a retest of those highs, and then down. Again, maybe not a huge limit down, but then down like to here and retest, and you might see like a gap in there, and then it fills the gap and then goes down. But yeah, so that's how I'll be looking for this high to play out. Ideally, yeah, I would like to see make a high, come down, make a higher high, and then come down. That is like your perfect sequence kind of thing. I don't expect to just see like done like that. That never happens. So we will see. Anyways, yeah, longer video than last, but a lot of stuff to get through. Long until you're wrong in this case. But I believe that is coming to an end. And like I said, it's becoming crowded now. Everyone now is starting to be like, oh, just long, bro, just long. Keeps working out, just long. So the shift is happening, and yeah, I believe they're, retail is FOMOing in when it comes to just like your stocks in general. You actually see advisors, fund managers and stuff, they're actually like largely exiting, and it's retail that is buying a lot of these stocks as they normally do at the top. They're being the bag holders. They're buying the top because they've seen all this action. They're just finally in disbelief, and they're like, oh my God, I'm going to miss the train. And that's when you exit. So I still believe the reversal is coming, but I want to see significant proof of it. As always, the methodology is if this, then that. Take care. Enjoy your weekend.